The Bank for International Settlements, the BIS, has released a report stating that China is facing a, quote, full-blown banking crisis, with mounting debt loads, imports and exports suffering, and a global economic collapse on our hands. China is clearly not impervious to the madness of the new normal. You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. So let's look at this credit to debt ratio being not the worst in a year or 5 years or 10 years, the worst ever. This is for China specifically. We're going to focus on them today and then sort of open up a little wider and realize where the problems lie. China has failed to curb excesses in its credit system and faces mounting risks of a full-blown banking crisis. And you're looking at this, of course, it's according to the BIS. So they have said, just like the IMF, I find, have said a lot of good things. Now, their solutions to that are not good, and they're sort of the central bank of central banks. So they're connected on the inside. They have an agenda, and they're essentially technocrats. They are part of the globalists. We can't necessarily trust everything that they say, but they do point, I often find, at the right problems. A key gauge of credit vulnerability is now 3 times over a danger threshold and has continued to deteriorate. And think about this for a second. When they have this credit to GDP gap reaching 30.1, and they say when it hits 10, that's when you start to raise the alarm bells. Let's be cautious. Let's look at this. Let's try to get these numbers down at 10. And it's triple that. Now, these are all numbers. These are all created by bankers. These are all, in a way, they're fraudulent. But let's just take it for what it is. Even within their whole silly little system that they've set up, where they put all these checks and balances in, even in that, which allows them to go so far beyond where they should, it's already triple. We have a significant problem here, and this is a crisis which will expand. It's not going to necessarily happen tomorrow. This creeps up on us, and people don't realize that as long as they're employed, as long as they see their income coming in, they're okay. They're doing fine. However, as soon as they get laid off, things start changing. And I have a lot of people on this channel, unfortunately, emailing me, commenting to me on the YouTube and telling me essentially, I was laid off, I can't find a job, I can't find work, or I'm being paid much less than I used to before at my new job, or I'm only receiving part-time hours. There's different situations. But people, I assure you, are not doing any better now than they were, prior to that financial crisis. China is about to really get into a territory that it has not experienced in the recent past. Very critical to figure out what's going to happen to China, because we have seen them basically exporting to the whole globe, particularly the US, but to the whole globe. They've been buying up debt all over the place, whether it's from Europe or from the US. And then we see what has happened with, with everything that's all the tensions rising. But at the same time, we have a crisis where the exports are not where they used to be. Now, hold on to that thought for a moment. Total debt to GDP for China increasing year over year over year, a steady pace. Now, it's not that the debt has increased. It's not that the GDP has increased. It basically means that we have more and more debt compared to the economy. Fake GDP numbers, probably fake debt numbers, but let's just look at it for a second and not have to really, get into all that. Let's just look at it. debt to GDP ratio getting worse. What if I turn to the US? What kind of debt to GDP ratio will I see there? Worse. When I look at Europe, worse. Everything has gotten worse over these past few decades, and there's no coincidence, because it is a system that has to rely on the expansion of debt. People somehow believe that China is bulletproof, that China will never experience a downturn. Look, if you believe that, go watch Jim Cramer, go listen to CNBC and Bloomberg, all right? Which, they have good information to say sometimes, but it's controlled media. It's there to be a propaganda arm for the globalists. And we see that every day. But anyway, if you want to look at that information, that's fine. What I'm here to do is just highlight where the dangers are, where the risks are. Let's move on to this chart. Government bonds with negative yields. As time goes on, instead of things being worth more, things are actually worth less. Now, this might be a fictional thing with the government debt here. But what I find is that, the price of something may increase. For example, you may have bought your first home for $30,000 and now it is, let's say, $3,000. Or if you live in Toronto or Vancouver, it's $3 million. And, we have this not necessarily any better. It might have been an equivalent home 30, 40 years ago. And I should say, 40 years ago might be very similar. And you look at the price of it compared to the median income, and things don't match up at all. It's, this is what we have. We have a dilution of the currency supply. Okay? Government bonds with negative yields. You want an investment? Absolutely. I got one for you. Okay. You give me $100 and I'll give you back 99. How does that sound? I guarantee you, I guarantee you that I will give you back 99, maybe. And if everything goes well and I don't have to claim bankruptcy or anything, I'll give you back that 99. Sure, in that meantime, I'm going to take that 99 and I'm going to take it to the casino. I'm going to gamble with it, I might give it back to you. It's 10 years from now. I got a lot of time to worry about that. And so that is exactly what is happening. You give them the money, they take it, gamble with it, spend it, whatever it is they're doing with it, and you get back less. This is the worst thing I have ever heard of in the investment world. A guaranteed loss going into the trillions of dollars. I mean, what are people thinking? Are any individuals actually buying this garbage? And then you have hedge funds, you have investment funds, you have pension funds, you have everywhere along the line, mutual funds and everything. They're buying into investments which are a guaranteed loss. This right here, it's proof. It's, as far as I need to know, it's proof that the bankers rule everything. Because this just doesn't make a single ounce of sense. All right. I'm not going to read the article. Basically, a bankruptcy of this shipping line right here. Look, shipping is suffering right now. When you don't have those exports, a lot of these ships, they either dock somewhere or they're hanging out in the middle of the ocean. And this is not something that we should ignore. Look at the data. And you can see that in this chart, the Baltic Dry Index, one of several indicators of the imports and exports that are happening. You could see that right now, although it claims, according to this chart, at a 30-year low, what we're looking at is near historic lows for the Baltic Dry Index. We need to realize that this is huge. This is absolutely huge when you have not, since the financial crisis, this goes way beyond that. There is a significantly less purchasing going on, exports going on, imports going on at this time. The consumers may be spending more on things like healthcare, and that's driving up what they would consider to be consumer sentiment, consumer spending, but it's not people necessarily buying into things that are cars and homes and everything like this. Because I don't know, if you look at real estate websites out of the US, for example, I see massive foreclosures that have occurred. That's not a good sign. We saw that during the housing crisis, just prior to the financial crisis. As you can see, that the housing crisis was so detrimental because of everything, all the loans, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, everything else interconnected with it. And I see that happening again. So look at the Baltic Dry Index, look at shipping, follow some of the big companies that do a lot of the shipping, and you can actually see this in the numbers out of China, out of the US. See who's importing, see who's exporting, and look at the trade deals that are set up. Look for oil pipelines that are being set up. You can see how this will change things. You could see, for example, if trains are being used to bring in oil, or is this cargo planes, where are they coming from? Amazon is trying to buy a whole bunch of airplanes to do theirs. What does that mean for the current shipping companies? Will they suffer? There's a lot of changes happening. Just to give you a few, I hope you enjoyed those little tidbits. If you found this video informative, please give me a thumbs up. Appreciate that very much. When you give me a thumbs up, it helps to bring these videos, all of them that I do, helps them to go up higher in the Google and YouTube search rankings. So it's more likely that people will be able to see this video if you give it a thumbs up. It notifies me that, yeah, you like the information, but simultaneously tells everyone else globally that this is a good video. So I appreciate that very much. If you found the video informative, I know you'll find my book, The Money GPS, even more informative. You can actually look through the book. Head over to Amazon, where they have a look inside feature that's going to allow you to flip through the pages of the book and see if you like it. Take care. Just wanted to give a shout out to everybody who said they would stand by me as the front infantry in this battle. Take care.